You are Locked On Reds, your daily Cincinnati Reds podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
All right, let's keep this rolling. This from Carrie. I like this, Jeff. Get ready. Put your thinking cap on. Carrie says, if the Reds have 4 wins a week the rest of the way, that's going to put them at about 88 wins. Is that enough to win the wild card? Yeah. 88 100%. Wins get you in the playoffs.
84 got the Diamondbacks in last year.
Yeah, I think 88 for sure get you that at least that final spot, maybe even the next one up. So 4 wins a week doable? Pull up the schedule, Jeff. Give it a quick look. It doesn't seem unreasonable to me that, you know, most of the time you're playing 6 games a week. So if they go 4-2 every week, I mean, that's a big winning percentage. And also bear in mind that a lot of the games left on the schedule are division games.
So yeah, she actually she had that one up there.
Is Carrie a she? We do that a lot. Carrie, are you a she or a he? That's one of those names that can go either way. Let me know so that we address you correctly.
Yeah, 23 of 54 remaining games are divisional games. Looking at this, so, okay, the Reds would have to win 2 against San Francisco to begin this plan, begin the 4 wins a week, but then next week they got a real shot with 4 games in Miami. Then they go for 3 against Milwaukee. The next week will be very interesting. So then you come back home for 6 games for the Cardinals and the Royals, and both those teams are good. Don't think that they're facing the Royals from like a couple of years ago. This Royals team, that's going to be, I'd be surprised. I feel like Major League Baseball would be missing an opportunity if they didn't put one of those games. And it looks like the Saturday is 6:40 p.m. So that's going to be a primetime game. I wonder if that's going to be a Fox game, because you're going to have Elly against Bobby Witt. And that's 2 of the best players in the league right there going up against you. But 4 wins in those 6 games against the Cardinals and the Royals, that's going to be tough sledding. Then the next week, 7 games on the road, at Toronto for 3 and at Pittsburgh for 4. Should be able to take 2 or 3 out of Toronto. I would hope you'd at least split in Pittsburgh, but they're good this year. Then you come back home for 10. You got a 10-game home stretch there at the end of August, wrapping around into September with the A's, that next week is the A's and then 4 against Milwaukee. So hopefully you take all 3 against Oakland and you leave yourself with a little bit of house money to play with against the Brewers. Then the following week after that is 3 against Houston and 3 at the Mets. That's going to be a tough week.
It's going to be a hard sell. I don't know that they can win 4 a week every week.
Yeah.
The rest of the way.
And maybe that's on average. Like maybe they do make some hay.
They could run off a 10-game winning streak somewhere, you know,
sweep Miami. Yeah. 10-game winning streak would be real nice. A 10-game win streak at this point might put you in a wild card race the way that this National League looks.
For sure. All right, let's keep this rolling, Jeff. Bobby asks, should the Reds look into trading away either Fraley or Benson this offseason for a right-handed power bat? I feel like you could package one of them in a prospect or 2 and get a big-name guy. I don't think that Fraley or Benson have a ton of trade value at all. You could package them to make a space, like a throw-in, but the real meat of that deal would have to come from whatever prospects you were willing to trade away. Jeff and I think we're in agreement that the outfield pretty much needs to be completely overhauled in the offseason. Maybe Friedel, depending on how he plays the rest of the way, gets to stick around. But I know you've been a big Will Benson guy, and we love Fraley, but at the end of the day, the Reds have to overhaul this outfield.
No, it was funny. I saw a comment on our episode from yesterday where somebody had said, like, wow, Will Benson is struggling whenever Jeff has stopped standing on the table talking about how he's the next Eric Davis. And quite frankly, I hadn't gone that far with my analysis of Will Benson from last year. But Will Benson has had a really rough year, to the point that I think he is somewhere in between this year and last year. But somewhere in between this year and last year does not mean that the Reds have their outfield figured out by any stretch of the imagination. And yeah, like if Benson or Fraley are in a trade at this point, it is as an add-on at the end. And like I'm thinking I'm going to go to the Brent Rooker train here again. If the Reds were to trade with the Oakland A's to get Brent Rooker, the A's are not interested in either Fraley or Benson. Like, you put them in on the end just to get the deal done. They're interested in young prospects that they can develop up, and they're ready to play once they get to Vegas.
They're going to want Duno or Cam Collier. Those are the level of players that they're looking
want that
for.
young one. Yeah.
All right, let's do this. Oh, Coach of the Year. Outfield of Friedel, Hines, Hector Rodriguez, and Carlos Jorge. What do you think? That's very unproven, very untested. I don't think that gets it
there
done.
needs to be a veteran proven player added to that list. Like, I'll be much more excited if they add a veteran proven player to that list. And maybe that guy's better than Brent Rooker. Like, I was kind of looking at Brent Rooker for a specific reason as the Reds to get him at this deadline. I might change my tune in the offseason when we're looking at different players there. And who knows who's a free agent? I mean, once the free agent list comes out, there could be some interesting dudes that it would only cost cash to get. And at that point, then we can just go back to banging on ownership's door and be like, where's the money?
Coach of the Year also says Weimer off the bench with Fraley. What do you think about Weimer being down at Louisville instead of, say, sending your guy Will Benson down to clear his head? What do you make of that?
I think that they just want to make sure, because reports are that he has rehabilitated or rebuilt or re-somethinged his swing. It's different from it was last year. It's more repeatable. The mechanics are a lot more natural for him. So I think that the Reds want to see that before they bring him up to the major leagues and say, okay, show it to us on the major league level. They just want to see how it looks at the AAA level. And I don't hate that idea. But I don't know that I really want to wait too much longer to see what Will Benson's got. We've been waiting now for 3 months, and he has not broken out of whatever this slump is. Like, he has a couple of days where even I will go, maybe that's it. Maybe he figured it out. Maybe he's breaking out, and he doesn't. So I think at this point, you've got to send him down and let him have a little bit of a minor league retreat. I don't know if that's the word, and then see what Weimer's got. But I think the whole thing.
Well,
is
he can't play worse, right? If you bring Weimer up, it's not going to be
better
worse
defensively. He's better than Benson is defensively.
It's not. It's just is a no brainer to me. So I don't know. I don't get it. I may have to reach out and ask somebody, because I really don't understand it. And what do you got to lose? There's nothing to lose. There's no downside to this. Will Benson clears his head. You see what the other guys got. It either works out, and if it doesn't, you swap them back. It's just that easy. I don't get it. I don't understand.
Yeah,
Let's
at
go
the
with
very
this.
least, he's down 10 days. Like, that's nothing wrong.
David Brown says, I would like to see the Reds go all in on Santander in the offseason. It's easy to lure hitters to GABP rather than pitchers. It would be an overpay, but something like 3 years, $100 million might get it done. That would probably get it done. That is an overpay, I think.
Certainly hope that would get it done.
That's a big contract.
Let's see, he's 29 years old, and assuming he does become a free agent, that way, I mean, his bat would be phenomenal,
right?
At Great American, he's slugging .538 right now. Slugging .538.
I would take that. I mean, if all things being equal, if they're willing to drop that kind of money, that would be a good get. A 3-year deal that's relatively safe. Gone are the 10-year deals. The Reds are never doing that again. But I can see him doing a 3-year deal. That ring.
I wonder slightly. He's a switch hitter, but most of his home runs are to the pull side of the left-handed side. But 32 home runs. I'm curious to see. Like, I don't know if the Orioles may let him go because they have so many outfielders that they traded for Austin Slater and they sent down Heston Kjerstad. Don't really know why. If I were an Orioles fan, I'd be
Austin Slater.
I'd be real mad about that. I don't get that. But yeah, Anthony Santander. The only thing will be not really good defensively. I mean, he's okay defensively. He's probably.
I don't care how good he is defensively. If he comes to Great American Ballpark, I don't care.
I've gotten to the point. Because I used to be, give me all the bats, none of the gloves, don't care about the gloves. But I'm so tired of watching what our outfield does on a day in and day out basis, throwing, when you got a guy that hit a single and somebody's on second and they're coming around to score and the guy's throwing home and then the guy easily runs up the second on the throw, like there's so many like basic mistakes that our outfield makes, and I'm tired of it. I want some competent fielders out there, not at the expense of hitting, but I don't want to be that guy anymore that's just like punt fielding, let's see if we can score a bunch of runs, because we can't outscore bad defense. I was so wrong about that.
This is the organization that once put Tyler Stevenson in left field. I'm just happy if it's a real outfielder out there. So it's a real outfielder. I don't care. I mean, I really don't care. You put him in the corner and give me 30 home runs at Great American Ballpark. Thank you very much. I will take that every time. I like this from Connor.
We are past the trade deadline, which means that we're kind of inching toward the stretch run of the playoffs in the baseball season, and FanDuel is a great way to take advantage of these important games. FanDuel has so many great promos all throughout the rest of baseball season as we lead up to summer. Some great boosts as well, like same game parlay boosts that help you increase your payout. Plus, they've also got an interesting thing. I was looking at this on FanDuel. They have the Reds' total wins for the season now updated. The over-under is at 77.5. So, if they finish with 78 wins, you hit the over. I still think they're going to do that. I still think I'm taking the over on this. Maybe you're against that? I don't know, but you can check it out over at FanDuel. They've got that bet and so much more. The Reds are actually underdogs tonight. Blake Snell on the mound, former NL Cy Young winner. We'll see what the Reds can do against him in the lineup side of things, but you can get in on all the action over at FanDuel. Check them out today at FanDuel.com and add a big win to your summer bucket list. FanDuel is America's #1 sportsbook. And get supplies from the site that's made for the skilled trades, supplyhouse.com. Supplyhouse.com is the reliable way to order plumbing, HVAC, and electrical products online. Their easy-to-use website is packed with helpful resources and the latest product info to help you get the job done right. Shop a complete inventory of over 200,000 parts from over 400 top brands and get your order delivered right to your door with fast shipping from coast to coast. Need help with an order? Get expert support and industry-leading service from the friendliest folks in the business and talk to a real person every time. Pros in the skilled trades can get a competitive edge by joining SupplyHouse.com's free TradeMaster program. Every TradeMaster gets access to a dedicated phone line, free shipping, and discounts on every order. Join the thousands of trade pros already benefiting from their free membership at supplyhouse.com/TM. And order plumbing, HVAC, and electrical supplies from anywhere with just a few clicks at supplyhouse.com.
Jeff, because I think you were at this game as well. Connor says kind of Reds related. I was at the game, air quotes around game, on Wednesday. How early is too early to leave a sporting event? Doesn't apply to me. I just see a lot of opinions. This is interesting because you and I were having kind of a conversation that wasn't this, but leads to this. I've often said about the new pitch clock rules that when I'm watching a game at home, I love the pitch clock. I love the game is quick. The commercials are short. Get the game in, can do other things, especially since I live a lot of time zones behind. I can still go do other things. But when I'm at the game, I like being at the ballpark. I like the ballpark experience. I like that vibe, that feel, and the pitch clock bums me out because the games are only 2.5 hours and then you're done. It's time to go. So I don't leave the game early, even when it's a blowout. I stay till the end because I like being at the ballpark. But how early is too early to give up on the team? That's the thing.
I have left early before. I'm not that guy that like begrudge fans for leaving early. I don't love the folks that like consistently, like it'll be a 1-run game, but at the end of the 8th inning they'll go, and I'm like, I don't love that. But I do think like if they're just getting clobbered, I would have been fine if somebody had told me on Wednesday night they were leaving in like the 6th inning. I get it, like I totally understand it at that point. Like it really looked like at that, or was it the 7th inning, the inning after the Reds scored 3 and then the Cubs came right back and scored 3 more. Like, all right, yeah, that's it for me. Like, I totally understand that. Like, there are points where you can confidently say that a team is not competitive. And then you'll have that one game in every 100 games like that where the Reds will actually come back and win. And so people are just like, see, that's why you don't leave early. I get it. Like, I would say if you're down, this is kind of a golf thing, like taking golf and putting it into baseball. But if you're down by 8, if it's like a snowman, the snowman rule, if you're down by 8, you got my permission to leave, man. You don't need my permission to leave, but you got my permission to leave if you're down by 8.
This next one's going to be a fun exercise, Jeff. It's going to take a minute to get through, but let's do this because it's fun. Bobby asks, how many of the guys on the 13-man offensive roster right now will be on this team next year? So I'll throw names at you, Jeff, and it's yes or no. They could be around. Tyler Stevenson. Yes. Yeah. Spencer Steer. Yes.
Yes.
Jonathan India.
Yes.
Okay. I say no. I think they
trade. I think he's a trade deadline. If they trade him, I think he gets traded at the deadline next year. Not
higher asking price. Is that why you do that?
Higher asking price. Plus, you do the whole thing where you're just like, well, if we are a really good contender, then we hold on to him to the next offseason.
And I say they trade him because he has one more year of team control. They bought out his arbitration year next year, and then he's gone. So, all right, Elly De La Cruz, yes. Jamer Candelario, yes.
Yep.
Will Benson, no.
Here's the depressing part about this. Objectively, you should probably say no. But will the Reds make enough moves?
I say no. He's my first no.
I think he's on this roster next year.
Okay. Stuart Fairchild.
No.
No. Jake Fraley.
No.
No. Santiago Espinal. Yes.
Yeah, he's under team control. And he has options still, so
yeah.
they love
TJ
that.
Friedel.
Team control
right.
options. That might be better than being a star to the Reds. TJ Friedel, yes.
Yes. Yep. Noel V. Marte.
Yes.
Okay. So going through that list, and then we got Ty France and Eric Yang. Ty France probably.
Well, and a quick update on that Yang news.
Mm-hmm.
Not a sentence I ever thought I'd say. They sent him down, activated Luke Maile today. So Luke Maile is back.
Is Luke Maile on this team next year?
Maile. Oh,
yes.
What is his contract? Is he under team control for another year? No, he's a free agent. Did they sign him? Team option for 25.
Team option. I think they keep him.
I think so.
So that's 3. Ty France, I think, will probably be on this team. So that's 3 that we said no to that are on the active roster right now. One of those spots will be taken by CES. Who else is on the injured list right now that will probably take one of those spots?
McLain.
I'm sorry?
McLain.
Matt McLain. So one spot. There's one spot on the active 13 roster that we agreed is a no. That
because okay,
so that's your right-handed power bat, right? That's your right-handed power bat.
I certainly hope so. And that's the other thing too about this. Bobby kind of I like this exercise for a lot of different reasons. It's fun to see, okay, like who do we think's going to be here? Who do we think's good enough to be here? But also on the other side of that coin is we can point these out, and a lot of the reasons that I say yes are because I see the front office saying yes to those players. Because as much as we do this exercise as fans, and we're just like, let me see how creative I can show that I can be. This guy won't be here because they go and they get somebody else. I don't know that I have enough, and this goes back to our earlier point, I don't know that I have enough confidence in Nick Krall getting creative with off-season moves to knock some of these guys off the roster. So I think that, especially with the guys who are under team control, which is most of them, I think I still have, throw this up here for our YouTube folks. Yeah. These are all the guys that are under team control for multiple years, not just one. And quite frankly, even Jake Fraley, who I said I don't think will be on the roster next year, he's under team control for next year. There are so many guys. And then you also have to remember on the pitching side, Brandon Williamson isn't here. Graham Ashcraft isn't here. And they're going to be on this roster in some capacity next season. Whether that's as starters or relievers remains to be seen. But there are so many guys that are under team control. And as much as we want roster building to be about merit, like some other teams run their organizations, that's not how the Reds run their organization. And it's annoying for me to admit that, but you know what they say about certain things. Admitting is the hardest part. So when it comes to roster building for the Cincinnati Reds, we're admitting this.
Honest Fan checks in with a comment this is good. Talking about Will Benson, I believe here. Would be a waste of an option to send him down this late right now. Just write it out. Maybe you send him down. You stash him next year. We talked about if he's on this roster, he's the kind of guy you could stash down in Louisville for an emergency. You could live with that.
I could see that. He does still have 2 option years remaining. So I don't think I have a problem using the option here.
Like, we heard an update. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I kind of wonder a little bit, like, had they played the how many options does he have game, how many times would Jose Barrero have not been sent down? Remember all the times he was up and down.
Coach D says, what's the timetable for McLain's return? When he gets back, what do we do with him?
So first part, I saw an update the other day that says late August, early September. I continue to think that is hugely optimistic, but they are reporting on literally everything that they have seen, all the tests that they have done, the performances and different practices that he is showing and all this other stuff. So they are telling us what they know currently. So without any idea of setbacks or anything like that, we could see him, 3-4 weeks?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's pretty realistic. And then the question is, what do you do with him? That's a good question. Well, yeah, but is he a DH? Is he a second baseman? Is he a shortstop? I would like to see him at shortstop if his arm is up to it. I would move Elly to third. I would put McLain at short, and I would leave India at second. That, I think, is the best defensive arrangement. And I'd put Steer at first. That would be my infield.
I would be okay with that. I think I'd also be okay with just putting India at DH. Because I would love to see the middle field, the middle infield combination of Elly and McLain. I think it would be miles better. Like, look, I think India has.
So then you're playing. So where's Candelario in this scenario?
First base.
Steers back to the outfield. Okay.
Steers back to the outfield.
All right.
He played first base on Wednesday.
Yeah, I can live with that. I mean, I can live with that. I think the best defensive lineup of the infield is what I said overall. Mm-hmm. But because that whole left side then is just, man. But
yeah, that's true. Okay. I think that
I can
just kind of
however
you line it up, like Elly and McLain are going to make some part of the field a lot more, a lot stronger. But also consider the fact that the Reds love to build their team from the middle of the field out. So I think if they have a chance to put McLain in the middle of the field and keep Elly in the middle of the field, then that's what they're going to do.
And there's a subsequent comment here is like Elly to the outfield. No, that's not happening. That's not happening this year. That's not happening next year. That's not happening
next year. It should happen next year.
Yes. Should all you want. It's not happening. They're not doing it. They're absolutely not doing it.
They will come.
Stop.
Summertime means outdoor activities and fun in the sun, but don't forget to stay hydrated. Liquid IV will keep you in the game all day long. Liquid IV came in clutch for me on the golf course my last time out. I was shocked to find out that when you drink a Liquid IV, it hydrates you just as well as 2 bottles of water. So now I always make sure that it's in my bag. And they have some awesome flavors for you to check out as well. This summer, they've got the popsicle firecracker flavor that mixes a lot of the great summer citrus that you love into a hydrating glass of water. Or you can keep it classic with lemon lime. I don't hit the links without Liquid IV. Keep the cramps away on the course with Liquid IV. Hydration is key to a healthy, happy summer. Get 20% off your first order of Liquid IV when you go to liquidiv.com and use code MLB at checkout. That's 20% off your first order when you shop Better Hydration today using the promo code MLB at liquidiv.com. That would suffice the outfield problem, though.
Adron says, I was at the Rhys Hines 2-homer game. Do you think we will see Hines again this season? It's possible. Depends on injuries. I think he's if an outfielder tweaks something, he's the call up. That's the move. So,
even more micro of a question for this is Hines above Weimer in the outfield depth chart. Because I think they've seen Hines and they have seen Weimer as well. Weimer played for the Brewers.
Yeah.
But Weimer has a longer track record of not showing anything at the plate than does Hines. Hines has a minor league track record of striking out a lot, but also showing mammoth power. I would actually think that as of right now, until he proves otherwise, I think that Hines is slightly above Weimer.
Probably fair. It's 6 of one, half dozen of the other.
Yeah,
they could coin flip it, I think. It's interesting. How about this? Espinal in the lineup every night. Yes, we talked about this yesterday.
Until he stops hitting.
Until he stops hitting, start him. That's the way it has to be.
But he makes a good point, though, because has David Bell, and I'd have to go back and look at this because you and I were both wondering. I'm sorry, I'm mixing you up with somebody else. Buddy of mine that I was at the game with the other night because you haven't been in town in a while. I'm just kidding. But we were talking about this, like what is Elly's statistics like after he's been sat this year? He's been sat a couple of times. Feels like he comes back and it takes him a minute to get going again. Like it still feels like David Bell does that thing where, well, we got a scheduled off day. We got to set him down, even though he's as hot as the surface of the sun. So do we see something, silly like that with Santiago Espinal, where like this weekend he just gets an off day because David Bell loves to do that?
All right, let's take a few more of these, Jeff, before we get out of here. Sorry, scrolling.
Do we?
Try to fill the dead air just a little bit.
We do have a lineup. Okay, Espinal is playing. Espinal's at third base and batting ninth tonight. Elly De La Cruz steer. Oh, apparently, all right. Quick one. This isn't a question that anybody had, but we got to discuss it for a minute, and we'll probably do this at length for the rest of the year, maybe even into the offseason. Are the Reds telling us that they need a cleanup hitter? Because batting cleanup and playing first base for your Cincinnati Reds tonight is Ty France. Man just got here. Hitting 220. Going to put him in the cleanup spot.
Right-handed power bat. I can't say it enough. That's what this team needs.
It feels like they're admitting their own deficiency by batting TJ Friedl straight off the injured list in the cleanup spot, by batting Ty France straight off of his trip from Seattle to get here in the cleanup spot. Like, I don't know.
All right, let's do a couple of these. These are pretty good. Let's start here. Joseph Gaditza says, I hate that Krall has to get creative as opposed to just saying to his boss, hey, let's pay for this guy. He'd be really good and help us a lot. Yeah, me too. But that's the reality that we live in. But I don't know that there's any way to, barring a trade of the prospect capital. I mean, that's the only other way, right? Free agent money, offseason free agent money. I don't know. I think that there is an economic reckoning coming. And I think the Reds are content to just wait for it to happen and see where baseball ends up on the other side of it. They're not going to give out giant multi-year contracts because it is coming. The reckoning is coming, and we're going to lose an entire year of baseball when it happens.
Do you think that's why we haven't seen them add on to the list of players that they have bought out their arbitration plus year? Like,
no one knows.
Still the only one.
No one knows what the landscape is going to look like. I think they're really just going to sit on their hands and see what happens. So that being said, they go trade for somebody, and I don't care. I mean, really, they're Burns and Lauder are the only two names I'm not trading. I'll trade everybody else to make this major league roster better right now.
And getting creative may be too general on what I'm thinking. Like getting creative / maybe taking a little bit of a risk with a trade. The example that I have is what Jed Hoyer and the Cubs just did this trade deadline. They traded away Christopher Morel, who is a very talented, albeit very volatile, very up and down, streaky hitter, to the Rays for the exact same position guy, Isaac Paredes. They turned a young, volatile, hasn't quite developed into a consistent major leaguer just yet, for a consistent major leaguer that can bring, very good RBI potential to the middle of their order. Could the Reds find some kind of deal like that? Like, could they swap a Noelvi Marte for a more proven third baseman? Could they swap a CES for a more proven first baseman? Would that be something that would interest you? I just think that they have seemingly set this roster in a position where it's like, it's young, it's exciting, it has talent, but all of it needs to develop and none of it is consistent. And we're just going to hope that it gets there along the way, and we're not going to touch it while it does. We're just going to be like, okay, let's see what happens. Just going to go down the conveyor belt, and hopefully at the end, we see a World Series trophy come out. I really don't want them to feel like that. I don't want that to be how this team operates. But as of right now, that is my worry. Where you say you're not worried about the offseason, my worry is that their offseason plan began 3 years ago or 2 years ago, and that's just what they're doing each and every year.
All right, because you created a defensive firestorm with Elly to the outfield, now we're talking about Arroyo in the chat being the shortstop of the future. Let's end there. Arroyo is the shortstop next year. No, Travis says Arroyo is the shortstop next year. I don't see that at all. He's going to be coming off of being out of a baseball for the entire season. He's going to have to work his way back. He's not going to be in the big league club next year.
He will be 21. Yeah. No, I don't think we'll see him next year.
Yeah.
He's played
not going to be.
He's played a total of 4 games at the AA level. Yeah. Yeah, I think if we see him next year, it's going to be late in the season. So he should not be counted on to be the plan at shortstop. I don't mind moving Matt McLain to shortstop if they believe that Noelvi Marte can stick at third base, then you could move Elly to the outfield.
Never.
But I still contend that you probably don't move Elly to the outfield until Edwin Arroyo is a major leaguer. Or
you just don't move Elly to the outfield. And that is where we're going to end this episode. Thanks, everybody. Appreciate you being here for another live edition. Love talking baseball with you guys. Make sure you've clicked the like button. Make sure you've clicked the notification bell. Make sure that you're following us and sharing with all your Reds friends, because we want to talk baseball with them as well. What can the folks expect from us the rest of the season, Jeffrey?
We are going to be all over the daily performances of the Cincinnati Reds and hopefully talking about some guys progressing, getting better, bouncing back, things like that, because we are Locked On Reds every single day.
They're never going to move Elly. Stop it.
Move him out there. They will come.